So Eric, I'm going to put you on the spot. This isn't a plug for Gamblit, but tell us about the product that you're developing for the Nevada market that you think will attract the demographic you just talked about.
Well, it was somewhat built into what I was talking about, which is if we look at it, rather than expecting somebody to change their behavior and come to you, you try to change yourself to go to their behavior. And so games are what people are doing. They're interactive. There's something you can earn achievements, you can brag about, and your skill makes a difference in the game. I think that's exactly what's captured in the new regulations and the new law in Nevada. And I don't want to make this just about Nevada. I mean, we see a lot of states now showing a lot of interest, and I think there's other stuff in motion. New Jersey has floated a set of their skill regulations and draft. That is, I think, how you get there. And so these would look more like a moshing together a video game with potentially microtransaction in-app purchase. We use the example of the Warhammer. I want to buy something to make me even better at the game, and you can get a positive return on the game, more improved by actually using that object or being good at the game, right? So your skill matters. It matters very much in the game.
So you're looking at opportunities not only in the state, but the tribal markets.
Very much so. I think, honestly, I think the opportunity for the tribal markets is significant here. They have an interesting opportunity to, depending on what's allowable with prize pools and that, they may be able to obtain or achieve some very interesting liquidity around prize pools across tribal jurisdictions because the money gambling piece doesn't actually travel across state lines.
Right. Oh, great point. Kevin, so we've heard from the chairman, and we have this wonderful law that's been passed, and Eric's been talking about this demographic and the type of products, but we can't do anything until we have technical standards. How do we get these products to the floor? Tell us about GLI's involvement with this and working with the regulators and moving technical standards forward. And I'd like to hear from Eric and from the chairman also on this. We're in a great spot. So moving these standards forward and timing, and I'll put Eric on the spot. What are we looking at as far as getting product on the floor? Time frames.
Yeah. So I think the approach that GLI has taken to this, I think goes well with almost any engineering project, and that's think a long time before you act. And so we've been engaged in the issue for going on over 2 years. But keeping in mind GLI's role in the process, which is to serve as a technical advisor, if there's one phrase that I would love to have stricken from the lexicon of the gaming industry, it's people asking, do you have a GLI approval? While I love hearing our name uttered over and over again, I have to constantly call to our staff's attention and to others that GLI doesn't approve anything. We're not a government. We don't have any authority to approve something anywhere. GLI certifies technology to meet a standard that is established by regulators. And so, really our role has been to work with the manufacturers to learn about where this technology was going. A lot of it's just, as I think AG and Eric did a very good job of explaining, it's simply a blending of concepts that we've already dealt with for many years. So a lot of this stuff is not particularly new. The gaming industry has a great way of, and not always our fault. One of my big frustrations with internet is people acting like this is some big new thing. Frankly, in my view, internet is simply the modernization of the delivery mechanism for a product that already exists, and I can't understand what the big deal is. But I think it was important for us to watch and work with the Nevada regulators. A lot of regulators had engaged, or a lot of our regulatory clients had engaged with us about looking into this issue. A lot of regulators we're very interested. We really want to do this, but we don't want to be first. And so, Nevada, through their legislative process, was willing to go out and take that plunge, and I think it was good for us to sit back and see the direction that they set. And as Kelly expressed, I think everybody on the panel, I think what would be most helpful to the industry would be some common set of standards. Now, I don't want to paint too rosy of a picture here, because I think Eric was very insightful in saying that you have to give the industry some guidance, you have to set some parameters as where it has to go. I don't think we should be kidding ourselves. There's still going to have to be some decisions that need to be made here. And I think AGE built into the regulations that, here's the way we want you to do it unless otherwise approved by the NGCB. So there is some process or some room built in there for some decision making, because frankly we're dealing with products that to a large degree either haven't been invented at all yet or are in various stages of development. I think even the manufacturers that are the farthest along in development still have questions as to which way they want to go. So I think there's definitely going to be some conversations with regulators. I don't think this is an issue where you're just going to be able to sit in a room amongst yourselves and say, okay, here's the rules, industry, you go off and follow them. I think this is definitely an issue that requires some dialogue and some problem solving. But I think from our perspective, where we feel really good about it is we've been engaged with the various manufacturers that are developing this technology for a couple of years. We feel like we understand the products that are in development, and so as regulators are prepared to make those decisions, I think we're prepared to get them through the lab relatively quickly. And so I think it's an exciting time, I think we're in a position for this to roll out relatively quickly, not only from a Nevada standpoint, but for our other regulatory clients that are saying, yeah, we're ready to pull the trigger now. I think we're in a position to get them up to speed and help them, arm them with the information they need in order to make good decisions.
Not to give up any confidences, but obviously Nevada took the first step, and as a former regulator and with Nevada, so many times you go around to other states and you're trying to get somebody licensed, and the first question is, are they licensed in Nevada? Meaning, if they are, oh great, then we're okay because we've got our backs covered. Now that Nevada's moved forward with this, are you seeing movement in other major jurisdictions and interest in moving regulations and changing the law? And also both state and tribal, obviously.
Yes. No. No, I think that there's any number of other jurisdictions that are actively looking at this. Some of them publicly, some of them less. I'm not going to speak for them. I will echo Eric's sentiments about tribal jurisdictions. I think there's great potential there, and tribes have a big advantage because their rulemaking and legislative structures are much more nimble than states. Most tribes are able to move things, once they make a decision, they're able to move things along a lot quicker just because of their infrastructure for doing so is much quicker. So there's certainly the opportunity there for tribes to move this along pretty quickly. And then the other states are just in various degrees of interest, and those that have studied the most are going to be the most prepared to make decisions.
Mr. Chairman, as far as the technical standards, how do you see the process evolving here in Nevada?
It's already started to evolve. One of the things that we're fortunate about in Nevada is we've got our statutory scheme, we've got our regulatory scheme, and then we've got our technical standards scheme. And as Eric will attest, we've been having some meetings already between the technology division and members of AGM and others who really are ironing out what we might say the devil is in the details types of items, and those will be found in the technical standards. Those are the really nitty-gritty details, and they're quite flexible. There's a draft out already, and I believe that there's going to be a meeting here in a week or two where everybody sits down and hashes those out. The goal is to have those done in as quick of a fashion as we had our regulations done. And one footnote that I would add to all of that, really, and most importantly to the tech standard layer and the regulatory layer, we all understand, I think, as a board and in commission, that these will likely need to be changed. We don't know what's out there. We don't know what new ideas someone might come in to meet with us about. But the one thing that we wanted to make sure of was that some of the meetings that I've had over the last couple of years with some really interesting people and companies who have really interesting ideas, where we've unfortunately told them, great idea, really cool gizmo or product, you just can't do it in Nevada. Those meetings need to change. Not necessarily from a regulatory suitability side, but if the thing is an interesting idea and if it is something that we don't have any issues with from a regulatory standpoint, patrons won't be harmed, the casino can still audit and account for revenue, suitability standards are still met, then why are we continuing to say no to that? Because it's based upon an outdated model that was created in 1989, for example. Well, that's just no good in 2015. So that's one of the things that we're trying to alleviate, and why we want the flexibility in the tech standards so that we can really make a change literally on a monthly basis if we need to.
Kelly, I think you echoed that earlier. So what you need to do is talk to the regulators in Louisiana, get them off the...
Well, you know, absolutely. I mean, it's a very competitive industry. Everybody here knows that. There are more and more casinos throughout the United States, and this train is out of the station, so to speak, and those states that don't try to get this done on the front end are really, truly going to